My name is Yolanda Ortega Gamble.
Okay, and where do you live, Yolanda?
Our closest major cross streets are Manzanita and McCarran.
Okay, so you were evacuated during the wildfire?
We were. I actually don't know if we were officially evacuated because things were so chaotic. We woke up during the night a couple times. Once because our burglar alarm went off, and I thought it was the battery that was dead. Our fire alarm never went off, our burglar alarm went off. And so I shut it off and then put duct tape over the speakers in case it went off again because I didn't want to be bothered by it. Never dawned on me that something else was going on. And then we woke up a little while later because the dog was barking. So my husband went downstairs to bring the dog in, and while he was out there, he could smell the smoke and then actually hear conversation with people that were outside watching the fire.
Okay. And what was the scene like outside once you realized the wildfire was burning?
As soon as we have really high vaulted ceilings and we have windows that go all the way up, so from our upstairs, the second I sat up in bed, I could see that the entire hill on McCarran was in flames, which we've seen before. It's happened once before, but it was just a big wall of flames, and a while later, more just embers kind of glowing red. Yeah, so we could see that one side was on fire. And it would have to jump McCarran to get to us, was our thought, and that's been our thought in the past. It would have to come over McCarran, and the likelihood of that seemed pretty remote at that time.
And how did you evacuate? What steps did you take?
It was really chaotic. We didn't have any power, and so that, I can't tell you how much that complicated things. We had a few small flashlights, and then we had the flashlights on our phones, which probably gave off more light than our little flashlights did. We have two small kids. We have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old who was in bed with 103-degree temperature, so we had a really sick kid. And then another child, a dog, and 2 cats. So we, my husband and I had a difference of opinion about whether or not we even needed to leave because that hill's been on fire before. My argument, because I wanted to get out, was that we hadn't had those huge gusts of wind, so I was really nervous that it was going to start, that embers were going to fly across towards us. But it was really chaotic, trying to kind of go back and forth. I wasn't sure if I should pack things, if I should try to take photo albums and important papers, which would have been really difficult to do because I wasn't sure exactly where everything was, so I was trying to calculate what to take. And then also we had no light. It was incredibly dark, and so it was hard to do that. We knew we had to take the animals, and I grabbed a couple changes of clothes, and the kids. We tried to keep the kids asleep. They didn't wake up naturally, so we kept them asleep for as long as possible to try to minimize the chaos for them.
And what was it like once you got outside?
Terrible. Far worse than it seemed from inside. So going out of the garage was filling with smoke really quickly, and then our laundry room is next to that. So it was starting to come in that direction, the smoke. And so it went from not being able to smell any smoke to being pretty thick and me being desperate to get out in maybe 15 minutes, it seemed like. But that actually seemed like a lifetime. So our garage door doesn't work, obviously, with the power off, so we had to disengage the power part of the garage door open, the garage door, that way we could open it. And actually our neighbors, I later heard, had no idea how to do that. So they couldn't get out of their house. Another neighbor came to help them, but they couldn't figure out how to get out of their garage, which is really scary. But I had to hold the garage door up, which is really heavy, and there were 65-mile-per-hour gusts, sustained wind, so there's embers flying at us, a ton of dry leaves just because it's fall. So I had to hold the garage door open while my husband pulled out, and then he came back in and we finished shutting everything down. But before that too, just getting the pets in the car was pretty crazy. We needed to get the cats in carriers. I was really nervous that the cats were going to start to freak out and just scatter, and then there's no light, so trying to find them would have been really difficult. One thing I definitely will know in the future is where the carrying cases are, and that they're really quickly and easily accessible. Because our garage isn't terribly disorganized, but in the dark, with just a flashlight and panicking, it's really hard to kind of step over things to get what you need, and that's when we also discovered 2 of our carrying cases weren't working properly. So we got out with a yellow lab, 1 hysterical cat, 1 completely calm cat, and 2 kids. Oh, and I grabbed rags, wet rags, on the way out the door for the kids to put over their face and mouth, which I thought might be overkill, but turned out not to be at all.
And so apart from those things, are there any other steps you take knowing that your home could be affected by fire? You might have to evacuate again.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone always talks about their photographs, and I was really panicked about not just my family photographs, because so many of them are online, but my parents' photographs, and both of my parents are gone, and so I have tons of history in that form. Having everything in one place, definitely making sure that all my photographs are on a removable drive that I could have just grabbed and taken with me. I think important papers, definitely insurance information about the cars, that sort of thing. The kids, the birth certificates will be somewhere in one place that I can easily grab them.
Are you going to read our Living with Fire publication,
Yes.
Fire Adapted Communities?
I think I might memorize it. Yeah, definitely. I later saw tips about going back into your house, and it hadn't dawned on me sort of the things to be aware of and the things to be expecting, because you really have no idea what you're walking back into. So we walked back into a lot of smoke damage, and well, actually probably relatively small compared to what other people had, but when it's your home it feels like a lot. And then a lot of ash, smoke smell in the house, that sort of thing. My car that sat there for 2 days reeks of smoke.